literally have pretty vivid memories of my brother and I being able to walk to lab.
Coming in first grade and going all the way through 12th grade, back in the 70s and 80s, it was just plain old fun. My name is Mike Moses. I've been associated with the lab school for 31 years in physical education and coaching for 23 years. I'm an alum from 1981.
So I'm Lynn Sasimoto. I am class of 79. Started at lab when I was in kindergarten. I both work here in admissions. I'm also a parent.
I'm Patty Kovacs. I've been here for now 23 years. I'm one of the college counselors at lab.
I'm Brian Wildman, and I teach fine arts. This is my 20th year teaching at lab school.
So I'm Spike Wilson, that's how grown-ups know me, Mr. Wilson. I started teaching here the second week of February in 1979. This was the Department of Education for the University of Chicago, and they no longer have a School of Education, but they did then. And this, in fact, was the library. And I came to graduate school here in August of 1977. So I came to this very building, in this very room, for graduate school.
Back in the 70s, everything felt a lot more enclosed.
You know, Gordon Parks was never there. You know, Scammons, and I can remember just sort of when the high school, before all the renovations that had happened.
The acquisition of Judd and moving the university out of it, and that is part of our building, is one of the things that really expanded us. Plus the building of Earl Shapiro.
You can walk from the lower school through Judd, now through Gordon Parks.
I mean, there's a lot of love and care that went into building the original lab school, so I liked the look of the old masonry, the woodwork. I mean, yes, it was areas of it were beat up, run down. The classroom that I inherited, you know, didn't have air conditioning, didn't have good ventilation, and had this funky loft in it. I pride myself on it being, despite that, a favorite classroom. That students would come in and say, "This room is so cool." When talk of Gordon Parks was happening, which really occurred, you know, I think there was probably 7 years before we struck ground that we were hearing about it and planning it. And I really give credit to Dave McGill for his foresight in thinking about this and seeing that this would be an important premier thing. A great art facility is not necessarily what most of the teachers are thinking about, you know? So it sometimes seemed like a dream, you know, and I wasn't sure that it would become a reality.
When Gordon Parks opened up, I thought my children would have never left this building. I would have had to be here until 10 o'clock at night, every night.
In 5 years now down the line, it's become more lived in, it's become personable. I hear more often that, "Oh, this is my favorite classroom." That's what I want to hear. That's what I used to hear. That's what I start hearing, you know, that's what I hear now too.
The resources and the beautiful facilities and the acoustics. And I mean, I did theater before they invented microphones for actors on stage, and I'm like, I could whisper and everybody could hear me. It's exquisite facilities.
Because of the facility, we've been able to expand our classes. So in the last couple of years, we've added film. I've got a new class, ceramic wheel throwing, which I'm real excited to teach. So I think the diversity of offerings that students have are really, you know, and the facility are top rate, and it's been a lot of fun. I just have a great time.
We want an entire comprehensive education of body and spirit and soul. You know, there are colleges that don't have arts facilities, like GPA.
We really have more equipment than we completely utilize yet. Like, we're kind of in this growing learning curve of some of the equipment we have and the ability to use it. But that is also okay, because one of the things I've learned is that I don't have to be an expert, for example, at 3D printing to work with a student who's going to develop the expertise, say way more so than myself.
And so to have that kind of a great profile for the arts and the facilities is terrific.
You know, I love that classroom. There's moments when you just look out at the rain or the snow hitting those windows, and it's so tranquil. Students, of course, you know, fill it with life, give it breath. But even at times when I was the only one in it, it's a really great space, really conducive for creative thought and calmness.
There was a wonderful 5th grade teacher named John Wilson, who was the baseball and basketball coach. And he came to me one day, and I got to be friends with him. He asked me if I'd run the scoreboard and the clock at a basketball game, and I said, I don't know how to do that. And he goes, no, anybody can learn that. So I've been doing that for over 35 years at least.
Yeah, I played 3 sports, soccer, basketball, and baseball, all throughout high school, and back then there were no middle school sports.
In Sunny, the scorer's table there wasn't much room, and behind the scorer's table there were 2 old radiators, and the windows were they didn't close properly, and they were often broken windows because it was used for everything, gym and all the sports. And during winter games, snow would come through and hit the radiator and sizzle. So there was this wonderful sizzling sound behind the scorer's table from the snow hitting the radiators inside the building. It was really fun. Sometimes the scoreboard would just stop, and the game would stop. There were a couple times we had to finish without the scoreboard.
Boy, the physical space athletically was rather limited. Basketball, we played in Upper Sunny, and that court was very small and always seemed cold due to the lack of heat. Baseball, we went out and played at 47th and Lakeshore Drive, and that was even colder.
That has all changed. Kovler, I think, is now about 20 years we've had it, and that's been a great space. The soccer teams used to play on the midway, and that was, there were banks at the side, and if the games went into overtime in the later fall, the only light was from street lamps.
Whether it was playing or coaching, I distinctly remember a number of occasions where somebody would strike a ball going toward the goal, and there were so many puddles on the field, the ball would just die in the puddles. Transitioning from the Midway to Jackman, it was kind of a new lease on soccer life here at the school. First walking out on Jackman, the grass was really nice. It was manicured and cut just right. It almost felt like we were a part of a professional environment. When you see the Premier League games and Soldier Field and the Chicago Fire, and you're looking out on the Jackman thinking, professionals could play out here. It sort of gave a sense of pride to say, we'd love to have you come here and play against us because we have a nice field. And I remember one student I saw, I'll never forget him saying that his soccer experience was the best thing for him at Lab. And I get goosebumps saying that now, because that's what I would hope most students would say about being involved in the soccer program.
The nursery schools were in two wonderful old buildings, old homes on Woodline Avenue that are now part of the Department of Economics at the university.
I mean, I can remember when Earl Shapiro Hall opened up and my daughter was in the 2nd grade. And of course, the teachers here just did such an amazing job. The year before, when Katie was a 1st grader, of just trying to talk to the children about, taking field trips, going from here, which we call Historic Campus, down the street to Earl Shapiro to say, this is going to be your new school next year.
It took a whole week to pack up and move in June of 2013. That was a huge move. You accumulate a lot of stuff over the course of 35 years. I had never bought a single new piece of furniture until we went to Earl Shapiro Hall, and then we were asked to buy completely new furniture. So that was really fun. I'd never looked at a catalog or bought anything before. You just found something in the basement that could replace something that broke. So that was a really big change, but I was here for 35 years before the move over there.
I was beside myself with excitement. I just could not wait for Katie to have just 1 year over at ESH when it opened. And I think Earl Shapiro, there's just magic there. Teachers have the children's projects out on the hallways. They're amazing. They're just really, really amazing.
It is all glass and bright, and you have a completely different experience depending on which side of the building you're on. The 2nd grade, we face Jackson Park. We have this beautiful view of the park. 1st grade's on the other side of the 2nd floor, and they have the Metro rail tracks, which is also kind of fun. And that's much different than this building, because this building is comfortably over 100 years old, and it's a wonderful building. But there's big, thick walls. So Jackson Park felt like it was in the room because one whole wall was glass. The thing was, everything was new, and I never once worried about a piece of furniture here. So we moved in there, and everything was new, and I was worried that we were going to break something or we were going to scuff things up. The funny story our first morning is that we were being so careful and telling the kids to wipe things and not to make marks and stuff, and this little girl opened her yogurt at lunch, and it blew open and went all over the glass windows in front, and that was great because then we stopped worrying.
I think if Mr. John Dewey were alive, I think he would be really, really proud of us. When you have say-so into what a building is from the ground up, when we talk about here at Lab that our learning is play-based, ESH encompasses so much of that.
One person's lab is completely different from another person's lab, but still good. And it has changed a lot. We had some growing pains. We're still having them.
I think the thing that distinguishes Lab and our kids, and I see it, is that they never take things on face value. There is always a yes, but. And the critical thinking and that deep inquiry and going down the rabbit hole of things that they want to learn within a group and on their own is encouraged.
I realize this more as an adult, right? That a lot of people know about the University of Chicago Lab Schools. That it really does sort of have, kind of a world reputation.
And that's one of the changes I've seen in the years that I've been here. Kids see themselves as both labbies within the University of Chicago, and as the University of Chicago has thrown open the door to the world resources, our kids feel that sense of pride and importance. So that's been part of the evolution of prestige and rigor and international profile that Lab has been swept in as part of the University of Chicago. And the mission statement, we're part of the youngest community of learners at the university.
The kind of faculty we've always had and the kind of children and teenagers that have come to this school, that hasn't changed. I was walking down the hall there, seeing these lads out here up to monkey business, and it could have been, 30 years ago, in the same place doing the same sort of thing.
There probably isn't much of a more fulfilling place to work at in education than being here at the lab school. Just the camaraderie, the spirit.
There's a theme that holds space and place over time about people's devotion to what feels like a family.
So what's most important in these buildings hasn't changed, the people.
Certainly, like when you come, enter the school off of 59th Street, and you see the Blaine doors. I love that. I love that. That hasn't changed. When I look at that, yep, that's lab school.